All right. Well, just to be respectful of your time, we're going to go ahead and get going. Again, if you have not introduced yourself in the chat, go ahead and do so, please. Welcome to our fall coaches meeting. My name is Ryan Casey. With me from MHSEL is the assistant director, Maggie Helmer. We also have Zach and Mike here from Play Versus. There's our contact information. Please reach out to us if you have any questions, whether it's a technical question or you have an idea or a suggestion for something to improve upon that we're doing in our league. Maggie and I do this all day long, every day. We are around and available to answer questions and to chat and connect. So please write that info down, and we are happy to help assist you as we're prepping for another awesome esports season. So why are we having a fall coaches meeting? This is the first time we've done this, and I know it's a crazy time with preseason, and you're getting ready to spend a lot of time after school already for the next few weeks, months. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Just as our league continues to grow and we get more and more schools and teams and coaches participating in our league, I just thought it would be helpful for a variety of reasons that you can see on the screen here. Number one, which is why I had you introduce yourselves in the chat, is to hopefully network and grow our esports community. Being able to put a name with a face for Maggie and myself and some of our friends from Play Versus. We do want to cover some important information as related to dates, kind of where it stands right now for our potential varsity or JV or Eastern Regional leagues, as well as our new middle school information that we're adding in. To review kind of best practices as it relates to game day expectation, sportsmanship, competitive integrity and behavior, and then also some newer partnerships that we have and unique events coming up this year. So I am a former teacher. I'm a former principal, as I mentioned with Zach there. So I don't know, maybe it's just my administrator blood that says we should have a meeting. But I really do want this to be valuable. If it could have been an email, it would have been an email. I just know I also tend to add to your email inboxes a lot. And so sometimes those probably just get deleted or moved down to the bottom because you're busy teaching or working in other capacities. So I did feel that this would be a valuable use of our time. And hopefully I'll get some feedback from you all to see if this is something we should continue to do going forward. With us today, we have a handful of our advisory board members. So this group, and you can see from this map and their names on the screen, they are so valuable to the work we do for the Michigan High School Esports League. We meet routinely throughout the year to get feedback, to find out what are some things that are going well, what are some things that we're struggling with, what are some issues that need greater clarity, how can we just grow and support the esports ecosystem in Michigan. And so I am extremely indebted to this group of people, especially quite a few of them have been helping us serve as a board member for a couple of years now. And again, we try to get a cross sample of people representing all areas of the state, as well as, now middle schools and other areas. And if any of those people are on this call right now, if you can drop in your email address, these are awesome, awesome people, or your Discord handle, or both, to reach out to if you have questions, especially if you see that you are in their region. This would be a great person to reach out to that can really give it to you in coach speak, right? I can answer questions. Maggie can answer questions. Sometimes the people that you see here can probably answer a little better because they have gone through that ringer as a coach themselves, right? So again, if any of those folks are on, I saw Sherry was on, Eric, Suzanne is on, some others. I know some of them are going to wait and do the Wednesday session to kind of divide and conquer, but these are awesome, awesome people to connect with and just have in your own network that you can reach out to. We also have some super coaches. So these are people that Play Versus has established as being just great minds and great coaches to help give them feedback and help grow our league as well. So these people, again, sign up. Some of them are board members with us. Others are coaches that attend other meetings almost, I think it's every month with Play Versus to review news and information coming down. So again, you have their emails here as well. So congratulations to all these people for being our Play Versus Michigan super coaches. And these are other folks that you will want to, write their name down, their email down as well to reach out to. Because again, just great people to have in your network. Before I talk about Discord, I do want to mention right now on this call, I'm going to try and fly through a lot of this information, and we'll leave time for questions at the end. We're going to use the chat. If there's anything you want to add or share or comment on or make a connection with, feel free to use the chat. If you do have a question, I do ask that you use the Q&A. You can unmute and ask a question as well if it's related to something we're talking about. If it's really, really specific to a specific game or something that only might apply to you or a couple folks, definitely use the Q&A or stay on to the end, and we will try and answer some of those questions. We do plan on sharing the slide deck out. I am making a recording. I'll probably send both recordings out from today and Wednesday. So I just want to mention that about the chat versus the Q&A. Both Zach and Mike are on monitoring both of those, as well as Maggie as we go. So feel free to ask questions along the way. A great way, besides just emailing those board members and the super coaches and myself, is to actually be on the MHSEL Discord. There's a join link there. We have some people that use this pretty religiously, and I consider myself still new to Discord. I joined about a year and a half ago. I set one up for our league. And I do have to say, I'm a big email guy, right? I'm a principal. It is faster and more efficient to get questions answered. So I know nobody wants to add one more thing into their social media life or their email world. I leave it open as a tab. I choose which channels I want to have alerts set to. It is faster. It is easier. We do even have a how-to document. So if you are brand new to coaching and you know nothing about Discord, there's a document that'll walk you through how to set up an account. But I do find that it is easier. We have a channel that is specific just to coaches. So no students, no college folks, no other, friends of MHSEL see that information. And it's a real great way to connect with other coaches as well. And I'm not Maggie, just, I'm not watching the chat or the Q&A. So if there's anything I need to stop, feel free to interrupt and jump in. So there's just some basic information of who's on the call, some great people to know. I do want to jump in now to just some important dates, and hopefully none of these dates are super shocking to you. We are in the second week of preseason, which is going to end this week. Hoping people have been able to utilize the preseason to get through any tech issues that you might have, to figure out what, kind of who's going to be in what position on which team. We already had a new coaches webinar, and I've been trying to send that recording and slide deck out to the new coaches who have joined since September 9th. Obviously, we have our fall coaches meeting going on today and another one going on Wednesday at 7. Our regular season is going to kick off next week on Tuesday. That is going to run through the middle of November for our high school league. Middle school is going to run a little longer. Why is that? Middle school is going to be purely scholastic for the fall season. No playoffs, no championships. Spring, that will be different for our middle school coaches. We do have the return of our Shoutcaster Showdown. We'll talk about that a little later in the slide deck, but our first round of entries is coming up in about a month here. Those are due October 18th. I do want to point out, I don't know if people caught this, if you went on the Play Versus website in the schedule, because of Election Day, they are moving the Tuesday, November 5th matches to Monday, November 4th. So something just in the timeline here of dates, I wanted to point that out. We are going to have our Shoutcaster Showdown finals on Saturday, November 9th. That'll be at Ferris. All of our high school league and state award nominations are going to be due November 15th. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Playoffs are going to start roughly around the 18th with our in-person championships on December 7th for a select amount of games. Again, I will verify which games those are in like week 1 or week 2 of the season. So everybody will know if you're playing in that league, you do really well. The expectation is that you would be there in person for those championship or semifinals or even potentially quarterfinal matches of those games. So a lot of dates there. Just want to give you a chance to write those down so you have them. So moving on to, again, our fall game schedule. These are our high school titles. You can see we have 5 games on Tuesdays. which games are on Wednesdays and other games that are on Thursdays. Remember, we leave Monday and Friday open to practice. It doesn't mean if you only are fielding teams that play on Thursdays, it doesn't mean you can't scrimmage or practice on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, of course. But this is kind of the balance of the schedule. This is going to look different than our middle school. So those games do not necessarily line up. Some of you are running double duty. God bless you, running both high school and middle school esports at the same time. So some of that is like a capacity issue. So knowing that not every Switch or every PC would be locked up on the same game title, middle school through high school, that's kind of the reason it's been divided up a little bit. But this hopefully screen is not a surprise to you yet by now. So our divisions, this is kind of new. Again, getting feedback from you all, from our end of season surveys, from our advisory board. This is where we are at as of this morning. Some of this could change. So just to explain this, we are trying to run varsity and junior varsity leagues for as many game titles as possible if there are enough teams, right? It's hard to run a league. We kind of float around that 16 school to 20 team number because we want to have enough to build out a full schedule should some people forfeit or drop or quit, which does happen every season. So again, these could change. As of right now, it looks like we will run varsity and JV leagues for Rocket League and Smash. Remember, varsity, if we're running a JV league, so for Rocket League and Smash, you would only be able to have one team in the varsity league since we are offering JV. We might have to work on trying to word some of these and make it clearer in the Play Versus dashboard. We do not seem to have enough as of right now to run JV leagues for Madden, Mario Kart, Overwatch, Splatoon, Valorant. So all of those, you'll be able to have as many teams as you normally would like to have signed up. Remember, only 2 teams can qualify for playoffs. And we do have to do a bracket reset should you have 2 teams make it to the semifinals in those. So again, Rocket League and Smash looks like we should have a pretty competitive varsity league. Only 1 team for Rocket League and Smash. You could have it multiple for the JV. All the other ones, all these other games on the screen, you can have as many teams as you would like. Hope Madden, Mario Kart, Overwatch, Splatoon, Valorant will all be in-house through Michigan only. The Eastern Regional, meaning you might be playing schools from Michigan and other Eastern time zone states, chess, Fortnite, Hearthstone. League of Legends is low. I'm surprised. We've been able to run that as a state league for the last couple years. Same thing with 2K basketball. That is low right now. If it jumps up, we could potentially move League of Legends and NBA 2K over to the state league option in that middle column. We might want to rename that, Maggie, going forward, that middle column to state league, if that's confusing, just so you know, for Wednesday's meeting. Any questions about that? And again, I'll probably end up sending an email out Friday or Saturday. I know they are doing an audit right now. Some people signed up, I would assume, as an accident. Like, for example, we have some people signed up for Rocket League Eastern Region. I'm assuming you'd rather be in the Michigan State League for Rocket League so you can play other Michigan schools. We'll probably automatically make some of those moves throughout the course of the week. But just to clarify, if you did want to be in Rocket League or Smash, that competitive 1 team only varsity league, please double check and make sure you only have 1 team in there. Some of you have multiple, and you don't want me guessing which team that you want to remain there. So just keep that in mind.
Ryan, we do have a clarifying question in the chat about JV and varsity league. So you are allowed to have 1 team in varsity, but in JV, and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is unlimited.
JV, yep, is unlimited. And that's why I said we need to change this middle column name. That is specifically applies as it is right now for only Rocket League and Smash, because we do have a JV league with it, right? So we're trying to separate out the super competitive teams. All these teams in the middle column, I know it says varsity. I'm going to change that so it says state league. Those ones, we don't have enough to separate them, so you can have as many as you want. So Mario Kart, you can have 3-4 teams, whatever. Overwatch 2, same thing. JV for Rocket League, JV for Smash, you can have unlimited teams as well. Hopefully that was a good question. Hopefully that helps.
We have a couple more clarifying
Yep.
questions on this, Ryan, in the chat as well. And one is for Madden currently. Do we move all the players from a state to varsity league since there is no JV? At this point in time, since enrollment is not done, I would say leave it as it is. If there's not enough to have both JV and varsity, we will have them be moved over.
And that was only ever the plan. That's a good question. Like Madden and NBA 2K, because they're solo games, we were never going to separate varsity and JV because I didn't want to have you pick between like what singular kid gets to be on the one varsity team, right? That's kind of tough to make that call. So it was really only applying to the multiple, player teams, if that helps.
And Lisa, if you only have one team, you're guessing automatically varsity. That is completely up to you. If you would like them to be varsity, you can, but you can also choose them to be in JV, just depending on their skill level. And if it's their first year or second year regarding
Absolutely.
this.
Great question, Lisa. Yep. Again, just when we're talking about Rocket League or Smash, you do not have to enter. You got a young team or inexperienced team, you don't have to do the varsity part for Rocket League or Smash. Yep. Great question.
We also had another question, sorry, just about there was a red exclamation point with an account for students. Just to clarify, because there's a bunch of chats going on, just make sure that you have your players link their player account. Mike has put a link into the chat with a help resource as well. And just to help keep Q&A a little bit easier and to keep your answers with your questions, please click that Q&A. It helps us keep it a little bit more organized and makes us be able to follow up quicker for you.
All right. And I can circle back on that if we have some more questions related to the leagues down the road a little bit. I want to switch gear for our middle school friends who are on the call right now. Again, there's the schedule for middle school. We were able to go from 3 games when we made the announcement in early August to 7 games now. And you can see the schedule again for Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays here. We do not have a ton of middle school signed up right now. So there is no varsity JV thing with middle school. If we can make enough to make a state league, so it's only Michigan middle schools playing other Michigan middle schools, that is what we're going to try and do. The only ones that are even somewhat close to doing that right now are Mario Kart, maybe, and Smash, maybe. And these ones are still kind of on the fence right now. So if it doesn't happen, these would move over to this right category, and you would play other middle schools in Michigan, as well as some other middle schools from other states that are on the Eastern Standard Time Zone. I'm assuming by springtime, we knew middle school is going to kind of be a slow grow in the fall. It takes a lot longer for people who are not familiar with middle school. It just takes longer to get things going sometimes, to get things approved. So I would imagine that'll look much different come springtime. But for now, we'll see if Mario Kart and Smash run as just a Michigan-only league or if all of them will be Eastern regional titles for the fall.
And Ryan, just before we move in and away from our divisions and everything, we did have one more question on JV and varsity going back to high school. Will there be a JV finals? And just to clarify, we will be having playoffs for the JV divisions within the high school league. Please note that with the unlimited under JV for teams, that means that you can only qualify 2 teams for playoffs at that point in time.
Yep, there would be, the goal is if we are running JV leagues, that JVs would have their own playoff and they would be their own JV champion. We kind of modeled this a little bit last spring. For those of you who were with us last spring, for Smash, we ran like a silver bracket, if you remember. That was kind of the impetus to like trying out, like in my viewpoint, I want to try and get as many people to qualify for playoffs as possible. And by offering a JV league, it allows us to do that. So great question. I make a note of that. I got to explain that better for Wednesday night's meeting. So
and I'm clarifying that JV would not be in person.
Correct.
It is varsity in person.
Correct. Yeah, I can tell you that for sure. JV would not be in person. yet. Down the road, maybe we can. All right, let's talk about game day expectations. The biggest thing that we see with a lot of issues that we see, and I know Playversus and Mike and Zach can probably speak to this from what League Ops sees, when there are issues, a lot of it comes down to communication. Please, 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 as they try to look ahead, you're a week at a time. If you know you've got a half day coming up, or if you know there's an issue with a potential match, let those other schools and coaches know as soon as possible. The earlier you can get in and confirm with the other coach that, yes, you are good for that start time for that day, the easier everything will be. So just please communicate often and early. You should be connecting at a minimum the hour before your 4 o'clock match on match day. Obviously, later, on your lunch or earlier in the morning, and I know people have got busy schedules, and some of you are working other jobs, or you don't have a prep hour, and depending on if you're a teacher or not, I know it's easier said than done for me to say this, but I will say typically the people who do that and get a response from the other coach, and the other coach takes the time to respond, typically have less issues than those that are waiting till 3 o'clock or sometimes even after. Because remember, we want matches to start as close to 4 o'clock as possible, right? And unless it was prearranged ahead of time because you knew of an issue or whatever, matches should not be starting at 4:30. And I know it takes time to get into a lobby and to get people coming into the lobby and get started. I know that's part of the process a little bit, but we shouldn't be waiting to start that process at like 4:25, right? This is a long day for you all. It's a long day for your students. I know parents don't want to be sitting around waiting for an hour to pick them up when they thought their match was going to be done by 5. Now it's not done until 6 and things like that, right? You should be shooting for as close. I said 4:15, but we should be shooting for as close to 4 o'clock as possible, which means, and again, if you communicated early, if you looked ahead at your schedule, you knew which students were going to be there and which students couldn't because of prearranged issues, we shouldn't be then having to be asking for we shouldn't be forfeiting at 4:29 or asking for a reschedule or something like that, right? The earlier we can communicate those needs or those issues, the better it will be. I actually went out, believe it or not, to a national conference through NACAD in Minnesota earlier this summer, and I got to talk to high school leagues from Minnesota and from Ohio and from other states. And some of them took a hard stance and said, we are not allowing you to reschedule. If you can't play at that time, you automatically forfeit. And they said, "Oh man, do we take heat for an entire year from coaches?" And people are so mad at us. And a year later, they're all on board, and the forfeit rate has actually diminished. And I'm not saying we're doing that. I'm not saying we're going that route, but just you got to do your best to communicate and to get the matches in. If something actually happens I'm going to encourage you to all be flexible if somebody runs into an issue, because chances are you're going to probably want somebody to be flexible with you someday. But obviously, it should be covered because of I don't want to say act of God, but it's a snowstorm. Our building lost power. Things like that occurred, not because, oh, Susie's my stud player and she has this after school meeting and I really need her to be there and I'm going to try and drag this match out until she can get there at 4:45 before we start, right? That's not what we're talking about. Volleyball doesn't start late because the libero isn't on time. Football doesn't start late because the quarterback isn't there on time, right? That's not the same issue that we're talking about. Then the last bullet on this slide, we had a lot of people ask about Playversus, and the platform allows you to have a student play 1 match per week. So technically, they can float between your red and your black team, or however you might have it delegated in the system, because they might have an appointment they can't get out of. Having said that, we shouldn't be doing that because we're trying to hide players and smurf players. So when we go against our crosstown rival, they're not going to see my whatever character or player. I'm going to hold that off until we play them and play, right? Let's have good integrity with that option, because otherwise we do have the option to remove that if we think it's being misused. So we can say, nope, kids get their 1 shot to play their 1 match on their 1 team, and it is what it is. Again, we want kids, because they only play once per week, to be able to get their match in, which is why we allow that, but we just don't want others taking advantage of it. Anything here, Maggie? Hopefully this makes sense. Any questions on a lot of this info? that you're seeing?
We had a couple questions in the chat, but I think most of them have been answered. One was about logistically, is there a difference for a coach, running anything on their end, being Michigan only versus Eastern? And on their end, no, it should just be that they're playing Michigan schools versus multiple other states. I know that Mike did respond in the chat. And there was one more. Sorry, there was lots in the chat. You can keep going, Ryan, if I find
Okay,
it.
and we can circle back and talk. I know sometimes there's some confusion, like if somebody does forfeit against you and then you get sent to the queue versus when it's the smart schedule already has it arranged. I know sometimes that causes confusion, so maybe at the end we can talk about that. And I see Sherry's on here. I know she's dealt with that quite a few times and has helped people on Discord deal with that. So maybe I can have her chime in when it's time for that. A lot of this section, what we've talked about, it really kind of relates back to just good, solid practices to get your matches in, to do it the right way, to be good sports. We developed a pledge, which I'll open this Google Doc up in a second so you can see it. It's just a way to promote positive sportsmanship, competitive integrity, teamwork, honesty. You guys already sign off on some things as coaches and your students do with Play Versus. Some of you are required, depending on where esports falls as an extracurricular at your school, a code of conduct, an extracurricular code of conduct, an athletic code of conduct. I'm really just adding to that based on some things that we have seen over the last year or two. This is nothing you're going to sign and turn into me. This is just a document that I'm hoping you will read and go through with your players. If you want to have them sign it and turn it into you, great. I'm just asking that you review it and maybe you hang it up somewhere. So when you do have an issue with a student, you can go back and say and point to something and say, hey, this is what we talked about earlier in the season, right? And you can help hold each other accountable. So I will open it up. Did my tab switch? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not going to read this to you, but essentially it just has they can kind of, repeat after me type of a thing. And it talks about giving their best effort to be at all scheduled practices and games and on time, representing your school with honor and grace, trying not, I shouldn't say trying, refraining from doing anything malicious or dishonest to try and hide players, hide levels, hide data from other schools and teams, making sure, as we already talked about, communicating properly and appropriately with language. That's why it's really important, coaches, that you're in and monitoring, you're hopping on headsets. Some of you allow students to do this from home just because of the setup of your school. That is not ideal. But if you are, make sure you are on that Discord voice channel with them, listening to them, making sure they're being appropriate at all times, refraining from doing other deceptive tactics, right? And then taking responsibility for the actions and consequences that may occur, right? Sometimes we have kids get in trouble with the publisher. That is out of Play Versus hands and out of my hands, right? If they do something to get them banned from a publisher versus something that myself from MHSEL or Play Versus might have to remove a student or from the league or from the game or disqualify a team for a match. This is still sports, and all of these things still occur in football, track, volleyball. So to pretend like none of this is going to happen with esports would be naive, right? But these are opportunities to teach and educate students, because for a lot of them, your basketball players have been learning the rules of shaking hands after a game from when they were 5, 6, 7, 8, doing little peewee leagues, right? Some of these kids have never had that experience. We talk about this at our in-person championships. We still have issues, right? It's just an opportunity to teach them to do it the right way. And so if you can go through this with them, I would appreciate that. We don't want people, hopping on other people's Discords, pretending to be students from that school to gather information. We don't want people to rename their player profile or their team name, so-and-so high school sucks. It just stupid things that, they're high school kids or middle school kids. They're probably going to do some stupid stuff. Let's hold them accountable. Let's teach them right and wrong. And so if you could go through this with them, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'm hoping that it'll help eliminate some of those issues that we see. Anything on the pledge, Maggie?
Nothing on the pledge. Just want to make a note because it was asked earlier that we do still have the Unified League.
Yes.
And that is available for Rocket League and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So that is still something being offered through MHSEL, and we are super excited. We've had some great success stories with teams that have played in that league.
All right. Just a reminder, we started this in the spring. We are going to run season awards again for high school. Each season we will run all league, which you, the coach, gets to decide. Pick a kid from each team. It's a digital certificate we send you. You can print it off, sign it, give it to them. You pick the kids. Then we have all state, which you will nominate students for. And they get a really, really nice certificate you can see in the photos there. And we will award those and pass those out at our in-person championship event. And then at the end of the year, at the end of spring, we also do Player of the Year and we do Coach of the Year. And I see right in my window, Eric Hines, one of our first Coach of the Year people, is on the call. So I really enjoyed this. Maggie does a lot of work to organize all this and order all the awards. So we're going to present the fall ones at December 7th at Michigan State University. Really excited about this. Had a great turnout. So I hope you guys make it really tough on me because you're taking the time to submit a ton of kids and nominate a ton of kids. I want it to be really hard on me to select kids because that means we have some awesome student athletes that are deserving. And you see the due date there. As of right now, I think it's November 15th. I'll send reminders out when the form opens up. You will get an email. Another email from me. Sorry. Other upcoming events, we talked about Shoutcaster Showdown. This is a really cool event, similar to if were ever in band or you've seen Band Festival or Soul Ensemble or Forensics or DECA, BPA, any of those type of competitions. We either as a solo or a duo, kids will enter, they'll submit a recording of themselves doing a shoutcasting a match of either Rocket League or Smash. From that group, we will select the best of the best to do it live and in person to a video or a game that they have not seen. We will provide them with some context information leading up to that match. And then they will call it live. We have a panel of judges that will evaluate them and score them. And then the winning kids will get some awards, some certificates, and a scholarship. Last year, we had a winner from Taylor High School receive a $500 scholarship award with one of those like giant oversized checks, which was awesome. So we are going to do that again. You can see some of those important dates. I know it's kind of hard at the beginning of the year, but if you can encourage them, if you have some kids who have some great personalities that are very knowledgeable about Smash or Rocket League, they do not have to be playing in Rocket League or Smash or even be a member of an MHSEL league to participate. So I do want to just point that out. If you think you have some kids that have great personalities to do this, encourage them to sign up. This is brand new. I know the date's way out there, but just know that we are looking to run a high school student combine with Michigan State. We're going to have as many Michigan colleges there to be able to scout and network with our talented high school athletes. We'll explain the registration process, which games will be on display that day, but it'll be a really cool day at Michigan State in look for early March to get high school kids in front of the college scouts for some collegiate opportunities.
Also, as Ryan has been going through all of these slides, it has a lot of information, a lot of different links, a lot of different dates. Please do not feel like you have to write down every single date. We will get these slides to you. You will get a copy of this as well as a copy of the recording. So you have everything at your fingertips. And we, again, as Ryan said, we'll make sure you get lots of emails from us. So you'll get reminders as well.
Next couple ones just have to do with partnerships. I've sent some emails about it. You've seen it on social media. If you follow us on X, I've posted it on Discord. I know over the years, we've had some coaches say, hey, I know nothing about this stuff. Kids just begged me to be their coach and I can't say no because I have a bleeding heart, but I don't know what I'm doing. Can I get some help? And so this is a platform that helps kind of give you some advanced coaching for your students. There's a dashboard that allows you to monitor data for the kids. You can set goals and objectives for how they're going to practice or how they're going to perform. You can submit videos of your gameplay or your practices and have people give you feedback of those. So it's $150 for the year for you to manage all your teams. That gives you, I think, 5 free video reviews. And then they're like $5, $10, $15 after that. But Josh is the guy you want to talk to at Coachify. He was one of the people I met at my national esports convention. And so if that was one of you who are looking to get some help, you're not sure quite what you're doing, this would be a great opportunity for that. We started an apparel partnership last year. You can see some of the really cool jerseys on this screen. Esports Gear is a company we work with to design jerseys. You'll actually work with an artist. They'll send you a sample to approve to make sure the colors are right. And then they'll actually help you, not just, let you order your jersey and so you have for your team. You can create an online store where you can sell the jerseys, hats, pants, armbands, headbands, all sorts of crazy stuff to family and friends. And then you can actually mark up that price a little bit. So then that money funnels back into your program. I know a lot of you do not have official budgets with your school to support your program. So you can sell some gear to family and friends and generate a little bit of revenue this way for your school, just so you can have more funds to do other cool things. So it does take quite a bit, the process, to work with the designer and get the sample. So if you want to be able to wear these jerseys this season, I would absolutely get started as soon as possible with this. And so we have some links in there that show you. They run it all through Discord, believe it or not. I think they can do it via email if you're not a Discord person and you don't want to go down that road. But I just know that's how they typically operate with getting it started. So just another incentive to be on Discord, become a Discord person.
And if anybody wants to get in touch with people that have already gone through that process, just ask, what it was like. We have multiple people that are on this call and on this chat that have done it and have had a great success. For instance, one of our advisory board members, Becky, just commented in the chat about their online storefront and that their students really enjoyed the jerseys. So just opportunities if you want to connect with other people and get their information versus just hearing it from us.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing, Becky. And then the last one, again, I haven't even really announced this at all yet, but we have an opportunity. We're really focusing on trying to include some STEM and computer science related activities, that just seem to marry themselves really well to esports. And so one of the things we're doing is we're working with a company called SkillQuest. They basically have an online course where students can learn how to use the Python language to build their own Rocket League bot. And there is a cost to the course. I think it's around $200, but you get a discount if you're an MHSEL school. I'll have info on that when it comes. And then you'll learn how to code your own Rocket League bot, and then you can actually enter it in a national competition, which is really cool. So this might apply to your Rocket League kids. It might not. It might apply to some other kids that are just, hanging out in your lab after school that are just into this type of thing. So just know that we're going to try and find some additional STEM and computer science and programming related opportunities just that I think marry themselves well to esports. And as those opportunities arise, we'll send them out. Maggie mentioned all the links. There is a Play Versus Discord that's really helpful for high school coaches that send out updates. They give you reminders when games have a big update coming. So you hurry up and get that downloaded so you're not trying to do it 10 minutes for your game starts. There's one from Michigan specifically on there. They have links to the detailed high school fall schedule, middle school fall schedule. And then the last one here I want to talk about, submitting a ticket. So typically anytime you run into an issue, whether it's related to a forfeit or a behavioral issue or something, there's a bug, something's not working. The fastest way, because it usually gets resolved in under 5 minutes, is to submit a ticket. There's this little ticket icon in your dashboard that you click on. So feel free to send things my way as well. I'll hop on Discord. Sometimes I email Zach or Mike or others that I know, but typically the fastest way is to submit a ticket using that little icon. I do just want to remind people, because I know you get in panic mode, rightfully so. You got a big match coming up. There is a human that you are talking to on the other side. I've talked to the league op folks about this. I know sometimes you guys get riled up, rightfully so, but just know, they're doing their best to resolve the issue, right? So try to be professional, keep your emotion in check as you're trying to get something settled and resolved. There are other people. Typically, when somebody is complaining that somebody else isn't doing something right or they're doing something that might be misleading, we'll go through the entire chat. So just know, they open up the entire chat history and will go through everything to try and find where the communication was broken down. And so it's the easiest way to get a matter resolved. Obviously, if there's other circumstances related to it, send us that info. We typically rely on kind of like precedent. Sometimes I know more information than league ops knows, and I will share that with them to make the best decision possible. A lot of times they know more information than I know, because I might only have one of the coaches reach out to me about an issue when really I need to hear the story from both. And so we try to work together to get those resolved. So just, I did want to explain that orange little submit a ticket issue.
And
more links in here about Discord and Twitch. Did I cut you off, Maggie?
It's okay. I was just making a note that Mike put in the chat that there, when you're opening a ticket, it says talk to a live agent. You can, and you're speaking with somebody immediately. So I just wanted to highlight that out loud. So if people aren't in the chat right now, they know that that is possible.
Yeah, to get more links to just, if you're curious about streaming with Twitch or doing things on Discord, I'm getting ready to move over to YouTube Live, I think, by the way. Our friends, Jason and Cameron from Heartland, I think, have convinced me that is the way to the go. So if you see those guys on the chat, they are doing an awesome job of streaming multiple matches at once, and they're really good about it. So I'm going to have them teach me, and then, but I'm sure they're willing to help teach others as well. We might even maybe try and do like a live session on that down the road on maybe a Monday or something like that. So just some additional resources related to what's on our website, the Play versus Michigan page, other resources from Play versus. Please follow us on Twitter. We post matches of the week every week on there. It's a cool way to see really interesting matchups, whether both teams are undefeated or trying to get into the winning side of things. It's just cool to see some of the matches, especially when we get like Marquette in the UP versus somebody from suburban Detroit area, which that match doesn't typically happen very often, right? So we like to post it on there. I will probably, it's not on here. I started it last spring. I'm going to send you a Ryan's Reminders email every Monday. I send this out, just talking about upcoming matches, upcoming additional opportunities to play, about different tournaments I hear about. I'm hoping you take the time to read those. I think they are helpful just to make sure we're communicating and everybody understands important dates. So please read those. I think they're helpful. I got pretty good feedback from them from the spring, so I do plan to continue to send those emails out on Monday. Everything else in here are probably things you've seen from our Esports 101 webinars, from past presentations. These are all links to all of the rule books if you're struggling finding those on the website or the dashboard. Game day protocols. A lot of stuff there. It is 3:45. So if you think you have enough information to be successful, you are good to go. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us today. I'm going to hang out. If people have questions about anything that was covered, or if you have a really specific question related to just something you're dealing with, now is a great time to open that up. You can even unmute if you'd rather do that than use the Q&A. People are welcome to stay and listen in case they think it might apply. I've done a terrible job looking at the chat, and there are like 60 messages since it looks like I last chat, so I apologize.
It's
hopefully
okay,
we've been answering
Ryan.
the questions along the way, but I'm hoping you found this time together useful. Again, we'll give you the slide deck, a recording. If you are the representative for your school and you have assistant coaches, please share this info with them or get them up to speed. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the preseason, and I hope you have a fantastic time this fall. I mean, it's going to be our largest fall to date. So I'm excited for it. But again, I'm going to finally stop talking now and see if anybody has anything they'd like to ask and unmute or use the Q&A.
Yeah, I had one question. For substitutions on like game day. So I'm doing Smash and Mario Kart. How does that like work logistically? Because I think last year I was an assistant coach last year, and I think that was like the most difficult like rule to get around. Like, when are substitutions okay? Do it like between matches, and like if you have, let's say like for Smash you have 4 people in a team, and Smash is only 3 people. Yep. Like you're rotating. So are you substituting within the day, or are you choosing your people from the get-go, or is there like what's the process for telling or communicating substitutions?
Great question, Ben. And I'm going to let either Mike or Zach, or even, I see Sherry and Eric and others on here answer that, because they'll do it better than I can.
Hey, awesome question. So each game is going to be hyper specific. So I always recommend reviewing each esport yourself. But if you're a coach that's juggling several different esports, which a lot of our veteran coaches, especially our super coaches, can attest to, then my first recommendation before we even dive into this subject is promote one student on each team to team captain, and make sure that they have the rule book, the game match day protocol or match instructions on how to navigate the platform in the lobby on game day, and make sure that this person doesn't necessarily need to be the best at the esport, but they should show leadership skills, organization, communication qualities, and they hold the rest of the team accountable. And then they become that subject expert for you, and that you just can focus on providing the structure and the space as a coach for the entire program, not just that one team. But to answer your question, for Smash, the substitutions must be made before confirming competing players within the match assistant. And I've put all the very specific details in the chat, and then I can link the Smash rulebook as well. So Smash rulebook hyperlinked. But yeah, super recommend relying on team captains to be kind of like the subject expert of each video game. Chances are, if you're a new coach, these kids are going to know way more about video games and how they work anyway, sometimes more than the play versus employees. So lean on that and allow them to showcase those leadership abilities and those communication skills, because that's what esports is all about. Just like traditional sports, you're trying to create young professionals and young leaders for the workplace or for college, and esports is the same way.
Based on what he had in there, Ben, is that answering your question? Because I know it talks about before
Yeah,
game.
I'm just looking through it right now.
And if Sherry or Eric or somebody wants to pop in and give them like the coach speak version of that too, you're welcome to.
Also, I did see that Douglas had a question. I'm not quite sure if it got answered, but I didn't want it to get lost. Pre-match communication, does that happen in the Play versus app? Maybe right in the schedule / upcoming ?
I didn't hear that question. I'm sorry. Can you read it? What was it?
Pre-match communication, does that happen in the Play versus app? Is it right?
Yep, it's all right there. So you should see it on Sundays usually, and then maybe Mondays, but you can start then. So sometimes we've had coaches reach out and ask to move up the games, or that's where they'll ask for a reschedule or just say hi even. And your captains can do that too. As far as the switching of players, the substitution, you just have to reset the match on the game, and I think it's under game settings. And so each coach has to do that right now. I don't know if that was said before. And that's one of the things. So you got to reach out to the other coach and say, hey, I'm going to do a substitution. I need you to click reset the match. And it doesn't reset the whole game. It just allows you to go and change your roster. And then you just go through and approve and then play whatever next game you're doing.
Okay, and there's no limit to that. Like, if you want to have someone else like who's on the bench to just join in for the next match, you can have them do that.
You could switch, like in Rocket League, if you're playing 5 games, you could switch every game.
I think Ben's talking specifically Smash, right, Ben? Or am I misunderstanding that?
Those are the 2 ones that I'm doing in mine for our school.
Yeah, so Rocket League, it's at any point after a game you can switch out. Smash, you declare your 3 players before it even starts, and that's who you have for that game. So, like, if you run game 1 and go, oh, maybe this guy over here would have been better, unfortunately, you can't do that. You're locked to those 3 players.
Okay, so you're locked in on the day of for Smash. Like,
yes,
if you choose 3. So, like, if I have 5 people in the team, that means that we choose 3 people to play on that day, and that's it. The other 2 people are on the bench for that day. that
Yeah,
correct?
for Smash, that is correct.
Okay. For Mario Kart, is that the same?
Oh, I'm gonna have to pass on the Mario Kart one. I don't have enough experience there.
Okay.
I'm gonna find some confirmation on that for you real quick, Ben, before we hop off of here.
Okay.
Speaking of getting a hold of coaches and times, just a couple of items. Number one, when you registered for this, you'll notice one of the questions we asked was about like your start time. I think that was on there. Trying to do a little research to figure out, right now we say 4 o'clock. It seems like the trend is some schools are getting out earlier and earlier, especially our middle school folks. So as Sherry mentioned, like if you want to try and look ahead to see if you need to start a match earlier or need be later, that, you can do that. Again, it goes back to trying to ask them that. Don't ask them that 30 minutes before the game was supposed to start. Ask them that well in advance when you're looking at your schedule on Sunday night or Monday morning for the week. And then also Karen mentioned, I do collect what I can, what I'm allowed to get from when you guys are registering as a team. I have all your emails. I have your phones. I'm hoping it's a cell phone. I'm trying to, we did this last spring. I'll make a Google spreadsheet and I will post that information. If you do not want your email or phone listed, just email me and I'll remove it. But then trying to figure out a way to give you access, right? So you don't delete a bunch of data. You can add in like your Discord or social media handle as well. Because I do know, as Cameron mentioned, like if something happens and the Play Versus dashboard dies or whatever, if you do need to get a hold of somebody, sometimes they just aren't responding in the match assistant on Play Versus, and you need to shoot them a text or give them a call or send them an email. I try to get you all that information so all your bases are covered. So I will plan on doing that again.
Hey, Ryan, in Play Versus in the platform, if you go to contacts, so you have your match chat, you have your team, there should be the contacts, the coach's phone number is supposed to be
in there. Oh, good.
also, as well as their email, but it's another reason to be in the Discord. When we had, I think it was the night Smash went out, I was trying to find the coach we were against, and I don't think they were in the Discord. And some other coaches were connecting with their opponents that way and able to finish their games. So it's good. So I always try to at least take a screenshot, write down the number before the game ever starts, just in case. It doesn't mean the other coach is going to respond to that, but I was able to reach out to some other coaches that way when we had a couple hiccups last year.
Great advice. Thanks, Sherry.
Yeah, I've got a question for Zach. I noticed that preseason is not required. What is the benefit to participating in esports if I've got a team already enrolled and we're just kind of waiting for the regular season to start? Can you explain a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so definitely recommend trying to play in the preseason this next week just to make sure, you're set with game codes and connection issues, whether sometimes over the summer things can change with IT and everything. It's always good to just try out playing a game or two in the preseason before those wins and losses start getting tracked in the regular season. Because the last thing we want is, we think everything's okay, week one hits, and then you have to forfeit a few games because something was a little different than it was in the spring. So I highly recommend trying to play this week at least one game, whether it's on Switch or if you're playing Switch games, at least play one of those. If you're playing on PC or your PS5, you just want to try every console out to make sure there won't be any hiccups when that regular season hits next week.
Thanks, Zach. Any other questions that you can think of that you're dying to have answered now before you head off to the final week of preseason? All right. Cool. Well, thank you guys. I'm hoping this was helpful. I'll get some feedback from people. We're going to repeat this same thing Wednesday night for the people who couldn't come today. And like I said, hopefully this will just allow for some greater clarity for this next upcoming fall season. So really appreciate your time. I appreciate you stepping up and coaching this fall for the kids. So best of luck for the rest of this week. Going into week one next week, you'll get some more emails from me, I'm sure, with some more info, but glad to have everybody on board this fall. Best of luck, and we will catch you down the road. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Maggie. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Mike.